Welcome back, once again, adventurers, to Let's Play ChäoS Child. In the last episode, Serika Onoe told Takuru Miyashiro the true nature of the man that he had once called father, Wataru Sakuma. On the outside, he appeared to be a doting, loving parent and a noble, good-natured doctor. The truth, however, is that the only thing that Sakuma was ever interested in reality was things that he found entertaining, whether they were good or ill. That's just the sort of person he really was, behind the mask. And on that subject, Serika told Takuru his Sakuma's true intentions. Because as it turns out, the theater building that Takuru was brought to in celebration of his and Kurusu's making it to Heikyo Academy was in fact the old planetarium that Ganeshi Narose had housed the infernal device designated Noah 2. And we're basically the place where Wataru Sakuma intends to close the curtain on this little drama, literally, by manipulating Takuru into killing himself amidst an entire crowd.
あまり思い詰めるなよ。何をですか?
Shinjo bringing us back to the present.
いや。
Yeah. Serika is gone, with the sole intention of confronting Wataru Sakuma once and for all. He scratched his head, then checked the time and frowned.
警察は厳戒態勢で復興祭の警備に当たっている。俺もこの後、一旦ここを離れなくちゃいけない。
Yeah, Shinjo definitely, we cannot afford any ill moves at this late stage. And if the police decide that Shinjo is acting suspiciously, they will definitely, he won't be able to help us on that front. But, well, I suppose the only good news we have is that Sakuma's plans are supposed to culminate this evening at 10:28 p.m. So we still have plenty of time to get out of the city. If we can get out, that is.
その間、代わりの警官が来る。そうだな。ウキ君の部屋に隠れているといい。君がいるとは思ってないから、探しはしないはずだ。
That's all well and good if he doesn't decide to check the rooms on a whim.
はい。
Yeah. Takuru has to remain out of sight because he is still the prime suspect.
おそらく戻りは夜になる。そのタイミングで渋谷を離れよう。準備をしておいてくれ。
As long as it's before the designated time, although the evening is definitely too late. I answered him, but my body wouldn't move. My hands were clutched tight, and I hadn't even realized it. I felt so frustrated, so angry and disgusted with myself. All these horrible things were going on around me, and someone else had already decided how I was going to escape them. I'd done nothing at all. Shinjo seemed to be about to say something, but instead he left the room silently. Fairly well for now. The clock said that it was past 10 a.m. Only 12 hours and 28 minutes left. Oh, sorry. I was supposed to be getting ready to leave Shibuya, but I couldn't leave Aoba Dorm right now. And most of the stuff in my room was already taken by the police. There wasn't much for me to do.
だいたい渋谷を離れる本当の理由は何だ?
It might just be to avoid the warrant. But it was clear from the way Serika and Kurusu was talking that there was probably another reason. Something that had to do with us gigolomaniacs. And something that had to do with ChäoS child syndrome.
くそ
I quickly closed my eyes and shook my head. No, don't do it. Don't try to find out. Remember your promise to Nono. You've already learned what happens when you try to find out about things you're not supposed to, right?
尾上は言ったな。
え?
I looked up and saw Kurusu and Arimura by the door.
いつからというか
Were they at the front desk next to the exam room the whole time?
尾上に思考洞察されたくなかったのでな。とっさに有村と逃げ込んだ。
Not entirely unclever. Kurusu entered the exam room. Arimura followed after, but when she saw the bandages and tape in the wastebasket, she looked at me angrily.
別にあいつの味方になったわけじゃない
I sounded a little guilty as I said it, but all Arimura said was, I know. But the look on her face was strange. It was as if she blamed me but wasn't able to say it aloud.
なんだ
え?
Expression on your face says it all, Hinae.
他にも何か言いたいことはあるんじゃないのか 言ってくれよもう隠し事はたくさんなんだ
And yet you still don't want to find out the truth.
そうですね。
Arimura looked at Kurusu for a moment, but evidently it was okay for her to tell me. Because she continued.
セリ、尾上セリカはなんて言ってましたか?
Even now, Hinae is still referring to Serika as Seri.
というと
いろいろ話してましたよね。よく聞こえなかったけど、声はしてたから。
そうだな
There's a lot to take in. I gave them both a brief version of what Serika told me. Kurusu crossed her arms and thought for a moment, then whispered to herself.
やはりな。
え?
お前、どう考えている?
何がです
尾上の言い分だ。
どうって。
I didn't even think about it. None of the things she had to say were what I wanted to hear.
たとえ僕が彼女を生み出してしまったとしても、どうしても納得できないというか。
Still behaving the way that you did 6 years ago to Kuru.
違う。そういうことじゃない。
Kunisada raised a hand to cut me off.
あいつがしたことは許されない。それはどんな理由を振りかざそうと変わらない。私が聞いているのはそういうことではなく、あいつが昨べ事件に関して説明したことだ。お前はどう思った？
昨べ尾上が話したこと。
What did I think? She told me the truth, right? Arimura had heard the whole thing and used her powers to check it. But Arimura looked down at her feet and said softly,
宮代先輩、覚えてますか？伊藤先輩と結衣さんの事件の後、私が言ったこと。
え？
私がもっと注意深く能力を使っていれば、伊藤先輩の言葉がどこかおかしいって気づけたはずだって。
Indeed you did.
ああ。
Arimura had regretted that deeply. What did that have to do with Serika?
あ、
I looked at her face, then suddenly figured out what she meant. Was there something that Serika had said?
嘘があったのか。
いえ、彼女は確かに真実を語っていました。でもなんか変なんです。うまく言えないけど、真実すぎるというか。
Too true.
なんだよそれ。
私、ずっと注意深く聞いてました。私の能力って相手の言葉が本当か嘘か分かりますけど、人の言葉っていつも白黒はっきりしてるわけじゃないです。
No, they are not.
話してる時っていろいろ迷ったり曖昧になったり、自分でも何言ってるかわからなくなったり、とにかくちゃんとしてないですよね。
Indeed. It's almost as if they have human emotions. But let me guess. There was none of that when it came to Serika Onoe, was there? In fact, well, there were times in which she didn't speak. But in the times in which she did, she was very descript.
だから普通は本当のことを話しててもぼんやりとしたグレーみたいな部分が混じってるものなんです。
Yeah. Most of the time, yeah, people say what's on their mind. But even then, there is an element of self-deception involved as well. Sometimes people can be led to believe that they're telling the truth, but it may not, even though they're not technically lying, they're not exactly being truthful either.
人間が言葉を発するという行為は常に理路整然とした思考の上で行われているわけじゃないからな。理性と感情が入り混じり、時に論旨は飛躍し、会話の道筋はひどく不安定だ。
Yeah. There's a word for that. It's called ad-libbing, or talking off the top of your head. Kunasato added.
でも彼女の尾上セリカの言葉は全てまっすぐだったんです。まるでシナリオでも用意されていて、それを読んでいるみたいに。
Her words were, in fact, very deliberate. Very deliberate indeed.
それに、あいつの話そのものにも気に入らない点がある。
Well, there's no surprise there. Kunasato sat down in a chair without asking permission.
フリージアであいつの話を聞いていたときは、愚かなことに、私も頭に血が上っていてな。冷静に考えられなかった。だが、ここへ来る途中、ふと疑問が浮かんで、そこから検討をしてみた。だから、尾上に思考洞察されるわけにいかなかったんだ。
ああ、それで。
Last night, Kunasato had stayed in the exam room instead of coming up to the living room to talk with everyone else. That was the reason.
本格的におかしいと思ったきっかけは、夕べの電話でのやりとりだ。あいつは私に、お前を渋谷から逃がすように言った。それが、お前を生存させることにつながると。
She pretty much said the same thing this morning.
ええ。
I remembered her saying that. Arimura seemed to be suspicious that her words were too true, but they seemed like the truth to me.
確かに、お前を渋谷から逃がすということ自体は筋が通っている。お前にとっての脅威になってしまった佐久間を殺すという選択もな。
However, there is an unspoken yet behind that sentence.
だが、私にお前を託すというのが矛盾していないか。
I didn't know what she meant. What seemed strange about it.
あいつはどうして私にお前を託したと思う？
だから久野里さんは何か知ってるんでしょう。僕らの知らない何かを。尾上はそれを。
But here's the thing about that, Takuru. Mio Kunisato's ultimate goal is the Committee of 300, not the safety of Takuru Miyashiro.
それを差し引いてだ。そもそもあいつの存在意義がお前の生存にあるのなら、 お前が最後の時を迎える瞬間までずっと一緒にいなくてはならないはずだ。違うか？
Indeed. She was going to protect Takuru. Well, it is entirely possible that she thinks she is doing so by going after Sakuma herself, while leaving Takuru in the care of others. However, there is something to this.
だからそれは通す。佐久間のせいで予定が狂って。
Arimura interrupted me.
確かに彼女はそう言っていましたし、嘘はありませんでした。でも、嘘じゃないのはおかしいと思いませんか？
Very peculiar.
は？
I stared at her, uncertain as to what she meant.
そう。あいつの言葉は真実に見せかけた嘘かもしれないんだよ。
Kurusu nodded.
真実に見せかけた嘘？
Oh, it's certainly possible. Because just as a lie can be concealed between two truths, the truth can easily be concealed between two lies.
宮代拓を生かし続けるためならば手段は選ばない。あいつはそういう行動をする。
だからそれのどこに嘘が？
佐久間だと所詮末端組織の研究者に過ぎ、そんな小物と差し違えて何になる？ただの無駄死にでしかない。委員会は巨大だ。佐久間を殺したところで宮代の安全など全く保証されない。なのに自分が死んでしまってはどうにもならないだろ
う。だから久野里さんに僕を預けるって。
That's all very odd.
バカを言うな。確かに私はお前をおとりにして委員会の実態を探りたいと思っている。だがお前など不必要になったら簡単に切り捨てる。守り続けるわけがない。
Yeah.
尾上セリカは私の思考を読めるんだぞ。そんなことわからないと思うか？
つまり委員会が本当に宮代先輩を狙っているのなら、彼女は先輩のそばから絶対に離れるはずないんです。
Which then brings forth the question. Is the Committee of 300 really going to deal with Wataru Sakuma after all, even if he pulls off this grand stunt?
自分の手でどこまでも先輩を守ろうとするはず。違いますか？
それは。
Your words are right on point there, Hinae Arimura.
そしてもう一つ、決定的におかしなことがある。あいつはなぜ最初からお前に真実を告げなかった？
最初？
渋谷地震による昏睡からお前が目覚めた時だよ。
Yeah. In fact, well, it is entirely possible that she lied to protect us, but even that no longer washes,
お前
I'm
を生き延
afraid.
びさせることが目的なら真実を隠す必要なんて最初からないんだ。むしろ全てを正直に告げ、能力や委員会に対する情報をお前に与えた方が助かる可能性はずっと高い。
That it would.
そもそもそういった情報があればお前は一連の殺人事件にだって絶対に首を突っ込まなかっただろう。わざわざ危険な目に遭うことだってなかった。
ね、なんか変でしょ先輩。
Yeah, it's all rather peculiar. She was right. I didn't realize it until they told me. But Serika's actions and her words don't match up. I never would have done the things I did if I'd known what Serika told me last night. And even before then. Just like Kunasato said, I would have stayed away. But would you? In fact, I might have done something to keep us away from it. If I had, Nono and Yui might still. But... why had she hidden the truth? It's like...
逆に宮代先輩を危険な目に遭わせようとしてるみたいですよね。
Indeed, however, that is in direct contradiction with her words and sentiments. Basically everything that she told us is basically a lie. Arimoto said the same thing I was thinking.
でも、尾上の言葉が嘘だなんてありえないだろう。昨べは有村がそばにいたんだから。
いえ、方法がないこともないんです。私の能力の盲点をつく方法が。
Yeah, there is a way to cheat the system, so to speak.
有村の能力の盲点。
A very clever deception. I remembered what Arimoto just said. Everything Serika had said was the truth. At least, that's how it sounded. But if it was too true, deliberately true, it was as if she was reading from a script. I found it. There was one way. One way to get through Arimoto's powers.
まさか、伊藤の時と同じ。
Arimoto nodded, slowly.
はい。私が伊藤先輩の異常を見過ごしてしまった。それと同じ方法なら。
Oh dear.
思考、誘導。
In other words, that meant there might be a little bit of hope.
つまり尾上は通す。 佐久間に思考誘導されていて。
But how is that hope? If Serika is being controlled by Sakuma, then he knows everything that we're talking about. And still, to let this charade of a farce continue on until the appointed time, when he could just easily dispose of us now. I mean, given his unorthodox condition, so to speak, quote unquote. If Serika is still being manipulated by Sakuma.
あんなことをしたのは伊藤と同じように操られていただけで。
But Arimoto didn't look any better when I asked her.
私もそれなら少しは救われるなって思ったんですけど。
Oh, we're never gonna be that lucky. We're never,
あくまでも可能性の一つだ。
going to
そ
be
れに
that
すがる
lucky.
な。
だそうです。
そうか。
My shoulders slumped.
先輩。
妙な期待はするな。それすら罠かもしれん。
はい、わかってます。
I spoke clearly. I thought I was telling the truth. But even that could be self-deception. But Arimoto looked down, as if she were in pain.
今、嘘をついたのか。僕は。
Lying to them and to ourselves, it seems. Kurusato must have figured out what I was thinking, because her expression became more stern.
私も思考誘導の線は考えている。でも、それも腑に落ちないんだ。佐久間が尾上の思考を操って、わざわざ仲間割れを演出する理由は何だ？
Yeah, even if dramatic entertainment is the reason, it's like, actually, now that I speak about it, maybe to Sakuma, this whole entire thing is nothing more than one big dramatic theater show. He doesn't care about the Committee of 300, he doesn't care about Shibuya, he doesn't even care about the Gigolomaniacs. All he wants is a grand finale so epic. Or maybe I'm just overthinking it. She was right, there was no reason for Sakuma to do that. If he'd sent Serika as an assassin, I would have been dead already. Or he could have just straight up mind-controlled you right from the very start. Although who's to say that he hasn't already been doing that? The two of us had been alone together and Serika had done nothing. I knew it. There was no point in hoping that Serika was really just a normal girl who didn't know anything. Unlike Shinjo, I should have been able to tell from watching her last night. The way she talked, the way she acted, the way she behaved toward everyone else. It was all different than the Serika I knew before. If mind control was involved, she would have acted like the Serika I knew. Because, and I hated for myself for saying it, if she'd been the old Serika, I couldn't have brought myself to hate her. I would have thought for a long time, and then maybe forgiven her. And then, like an idiot, I would have done exactly what Sakuma wanted, and only regretted it the instant I was killed. But that isn't what
Miyashiro.
happened. Kunisato's expression was as fierce as ever.
はい。
よく考えろ。もしかすると、これが重大な鍵かもしれない。昨日も聞いたことだが、地震の時、お前は何を望んだ？その結果、尾上がリアルブートされたのだとしたら、あいつに何を求めたんだ？
It's time to face the music once again.
本当にあいつは、お前を生存させることが目的なのか？
I remembered what it had been like back then. I remembered the hellish sights around me, the horrible headache, and I remembered begging Serika to help me. Serika said it was her goal to keep me alive, to save my life, literally. Was that the truth? And if it is, how did she intend to save your life? If we are to understand the truth behind that mystery, it has to be done in a manner that we can fully, truly comprehend. There was a brief but strong pain in my head. I pressed my hand to my forehead. Whenever I remembered that, the pain came back. But we need to break through it, even if it hurts.
大丈夫ですか？
Arimoto had been through the same pain, so she was worried. I raised my hand and told her I was okay. Even though that's not the
とにかく
truth.
助けてくれと言った気がします。
Is that so? I couldn't remember if I'd barely been able to get the words out, or if I'd shouted them at the top of my lungs, or even if I hadn't said them aloud at all. But I could remember asking Serika for help.
だけど
There is something keeping us from truly remembering and accepting the real answer. Was that really all I asked for? Back then I'd... It was a new pain. This time I could feel a throbbing in my temples. I pressed my hand harder into my head and the nails dug into the skin. This is starting to seem eerily similar to what Shinji Ito went through when he warned us about who was, warned us about Serika, or tried to, when she told him to murder Yui. And the pain that he underwent broke his mind. My whole body staggered and I collapsed to the floor.
先輩!
It's almost as if there is something existentially trying to keep us from remembering the truth. There was a warm sensation on my shoulder. Arimoto was trying to help me up.
ごめん、大丈夫。
嘘です。
Anything further from fine. Arimoto led me over to the bed in the corner of the exam room. I wanted to lie down right away, but...
いや、ダメだ。新庄さんが代わりの警官が来るって言ってたから、雨季の部屋に隠れてろって。
Yeah, we cannot be discovered.
じゃあ、もういいですから、上に行きましょう。
I nodded and thanked her as she held me by the shoulder. I forced my body to softly push off her and stand up on its own.
久野里さんもすいません。
She sighed in resignation and shook her head. It's fine, she said.
どのみち、尾上がここにいない以上、情報の裏付けは取れないしな。お前の話だと、尾上は今夜10時28分にシアターキューブに現れるということだが。残念ながら私では、能力者2人を相手にして立ち回りを演じることはできそうにない。ハンドガンも久しく撃ってないしな。
I wonder if that has something to do with your past in America. Arimo turned to Kunosato, surprised that she'd fired a gun. Kunosato seemed unusually hesitant, but said,
仕方がない。尾上の言うことにはどこか矛盾があるとはいえ、今はそれを探る時間も人も全く足りない。
So we have no choice but to go along with this little charade for now.
とりあえずだが、予定通り、新庄さんが戻ってくるのを待って渋谷を脱出する。
It's all very suspect.
もし何らかの企みがそこにあるなら、乗ってやるまでだ。
Looks like that's our only option. And of course Yuto is here, in Uki's room, still sleeping. I went to Uki's room to hide before the police officer got here and found Yuto curled up asleep on her bed. He must have been crying for a long time because he was red around the eyes, and I could see tear marks on his cheeks. Uki was sitting on the bed, softly holding his hand. She'd probably been like that for a long time. It seemed like a very natural thing for her to do.
ちゃんとお姉さんしてるんだな。
That she is.
いえ、私なんてまだ。
Her voice was soft and kind, so as not to wake you, so. But there was a loneliness mixed in with her words. I could see that she was looking at a photo on the desk. It was a picture of Yui and Uki. I couldn't tell when it was taken. Yui was hugging Uki from behind. This must be from their school days. And pressing her cheek up against Uki's blushing face. I thought about the person who had taken this picture. If it wasn't one they'd taken themselves, someone had to have taken it. It wasn't Yuto. If Yuto was there, he'd be standing in between the two of them. And Sakuma wasn't into taking photographs. Which meant it was probably Nono. I could tell what Uki was thinking when she looked at it. She was thinking about when Nono had taken the picture.
"出発は夜になるって。準備できてる?"
Well, we're probably as ready as we'll ever be, I guess.
はい、一応は。でも、よくわからなくて。
Neither did I. It wasn't that I didn't know what to take. I didn't know what was happening to me. I hadn't even been told we were going, except that we were leaving Shibuya.
とりあえず一旦離れるだけだから心配しなくていいと思うよ。
Now who is the one that's lying? Hinae Arimura.
はい。
Uki smiled, just a little at Arimura's attempt to make her feel better.
お前は大丈夫なのか？
大丈夫っすよ。前から旅に出てみたかったんで。
Yeah, it's been a long while since Hinae has hidden behind this emotional facade. She was joking around, probably because Uki was here. It felt like old times, and I smiled a little. Of course, she wasn't okay. She was leaving the town where she lived, and with no notice at all. And she was leaving because someone wanted to kill her.
なんて言うんですかね、こういうの。バンドワゴン？バンドでワゴン？
Bandwagon is probably the verbiage I would definitely use. No. And that second one doesn't even make any sense. Even Kazuki is a little bit tired at Hinae's jokes. I suddenly realized that Kazuki was in the corner of the room, chewing dried squid. I hadn't seen that in a while either. It was kind of a relief.
花、ユウトが起きちゃうから。はあ、着替え足りるかな。買わなきゃダメか。
Well, I suppose there has to be some light relief, I guess. Arimura tugged at her outfit as she spoke.
有村さん、よかったらですけど。よかったら、ののさんの使ってください。ののさんの部屋にありますから。
え？
Arimura froze. She clearly didn't know what to say.
いや、でもそれは。
いいんです。ね、タクルさん。
I was a little surprised. Now it seems like it's Uki that's trying to make everything seem better. For a moment, she looked like Nano or Yui. She probably decided that she'd protect Yuto. And so she was trying to be a big sister like they were. I nodded to both of them.
なあ、ののはどんなものでも無駄にするのが大嫌いだったから、もらってやってくれないか。
けど、先輩は。
いいんだ。
Arimura seemed a little surprised, but her face finally took on a serious expression.
わかりました。もらっていきます。
はい。
あ。
Looks like that's settled then. Arimura ran over to Nono's room to get the clothes before the policeman came. I decided I should probably check if there were any clothes left in my room, then stood up.
渋谷を離れる。
I tried to leave the room quietly so not as to wake up Yuto, and then I stopped.
地震の時、お前は何を望んだ？その結果、尾上がリアルブートされたのだとしたら、あいつに何を求めたんだ？
What was Takuru Miyashiro's wish from all those years ago? I remembered what Kunasato had just said. I looked around, as if trying to find the answer to a problem I couldn't solve. And then I saw Uki holding Yuto's hands as he softly moaned in pain.
いや。
I don't have to know, do I? I don't have to think about the things I don't know. This is the right thing to do. If I endured that headache long enough, I could probably find the answer. But I gave up and left Uki's room to go get ready instead. November 6th, 2015, Friday. Another moment in time that is going to mark the end of this episode of Let's Play ChäoS Child. And when we return, hopefully all the final preparations have been made before our departure from Shibuya. As always, until next we meet.